Good morning, everybody. Right, just gone after 11 o'clock, which means we do need to get started. We've got a jam-packed program for you, and I'd just like to welcome you on this chilly morning to the Insight series on behalf of the IAB. We're very excited to have you here today. Perhaps it is your first time joining us at the Insights, in which case you're even more welcome. This is such an incredible space. We're all here to learn more from the best in the industry, to sharpen our tools as marketers, all in an attempt to share knowledge that can drive the industry forward. That is the big mandate as part of the IAB, and we look forward to having you become a part of that. So my name is Danilo Acquisto. No, I'm not Fatso, and I know you were looking forward to seeing her this morning. She unfortunately couldn't join us for this event today, so I've been asked to take the reins on today to keep you company, to make sure the event flows smoothly for you, and that's my job. It feels kind of ironic that we're standing in this position today, simply because of the fact that our business was involved in trying to assist the IAB in taking its offline events into the online world. And so as we discuss episode 28 today, we're looking at the power of integrating offline and online digital and the key measurement factors that are at play. Today, we're going to be highlighting some of the case studies and the learnings that come from innovating in this growing space. As consumers traverse the ever-increasing omni-channel and omni-retail experience, we learn how digital media and marketing steps up to meet their needs, wants, and their dreams. Today's guests that will be speaking to you today are the following. Ansa, Leighton, the head of consultancy for Ops at Incubeta. She's going to be speaking about maximizing the power of data for seamless and meaningful brand experiences. Then we hand over to Franscoe, Bouwer, the marketing manager for Lite, and Nick Kostouros, integrated creative director at Promise Johannesburg, about the world's first temperature-based media trading platform. It was such an interesting case study, and I cannot wait to share it with you. It's going to be really, really insightful. And then David Wingfield, managing exec for brand and marketing at Absa, about the This Is Us campaign. Looking forward to obviously sharing some more information about that. He's got loads of insights and an incredibly knowledgeable man, so can't wait for those. And then we'll obviously engage all your questions in the Q&A. So in order for us to get started this morning, I thought we'd start off with a quick poll, because I'm always fascinated to know why it is that people are here this morning. So, oops, I'm showing the old results with you. I want to be able to share a poll with every single one of you. Take a look at it. The question is, what brought you here today? Is it that the keynote and speakers sounded interesting? The Q&A was something that interested you because you love a good discussion? You're just trying to avoid an extra hour of work? Be honest. And lastly, you're feeling a bit stuck about integrating offline and online digital marketing. You're looking for some help. I'll give you a few seconds to answer that poll. Cool, 50% have voted, 60% of you have voted. Let's wait for 70% of you to have voted. And then we've got a good critical mass. All right, let's end it there. We're at 70%. Ending the poll and sharing those results with you. Quite exciting. 58% of you saying that you're here because the keynote and speaker sounded interesting, and I couldn't agree with you more. 37% are saying that you're feeling a bit stuck about integrating offline and online digital marketing and looking for some help. We cannot wait to share that help with you today. The insights are fantastic. And then thanks for the honesty. 3% of you are avoiding an extra hour of work, and 1% saying that the Q&A is always exciting. You love a good discussion. There'll be loads more polls with Ansa in a different platform, so please stand by for that and keep your phones nearby. She might ask you to scan a QR code, so just keep a lookout for that. Right, if you've never been on a Zoom webinar before, down at the bottom of your screen, you will see somewhere on your screen the Q&A. It literally says Q&A. If you click that button now, there's an opportunity to fill in your questions for our panelists as they're coming up. I'll keep reminding you throughout the webinar. Please do post those. We'll take those questions as a priority when it comes to the panel discussion at the end of the session this morning. And then, for the first time in a long time, I've got a prize for somebody. If you go head over to the Twitter page and you tag IAB_SA and use the hashtag IAB Insights, and you share what you've learned here this morning and some of the insights that you've seen. Paula, the CEO of the IAB, will be letting us know who the winner is going to be. And I've got one ticket for the Bookmarks Awards for this year, where we celebrate all the work that is driving the industry forward. So looking forward to that prize. You have to go onto Twitter, tag IAB_SA, use the hashtag IAB Insights, and tell us what you've learned here this morning. Final note on the agenda is that at the end of the webinar itself, a feedback survey will be sent to you. Just make sure that this continues to grow and improve the way that you take on learnings from the industry's bests. Right, let's start with our first speaker, Ansa Leighton, the head of consultancy for Ops SA at Incubeta, who is chatting about maximizing the power of data for seamless and meaningful brand experiences. A bit more about Ansa for you. She's a results-driven individual with a passion for commerce, especially conducted online. Ansa has earned a reputation of being a dynamic team player who engages in challenges where her skills can make a significant contribution to forward-thinking businesses. With a background in branded retail, her focus on product development and marketing provided a foundation to her digital marketing career. 10 years after pivoting from the traditional to digital marketing, her media buying and marketing tech served as building blocks to her career in consulting on clients' digital transformation journeys. With that, Ansa, it's so good to have you this morning. How are we?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for having me.
That artwork telling you is honestly phenomenal. I think you're a fantastic artist, or is there somebody else that we should be crediting for the art there?
I don't even know who the artist it would be now, but it usually gets a few comments by all means.
Fantastic. It's so good to have you this morning. Looking forward to your insights. As a reminder, everybody, she'll give you the insight now, but take out your mobile phones, get your QR codes ready. Ansa, the stage is yours. Thank you for being our keynote today.
So thank you, everyone. Morning. It's lovely to be here today. Thanks for inviting me. I want to hear from you guys during this session. I'm going to use Slido for that, so you can see right there on the screen. If you can just scan that QR code, it should be easy now through your cameras, and then you can just add in the ID there. It's hashtag or /Y164. Give that a few seconds just to make sure that there's some interaction. It's always nice to get some feedback. Everyone good? We'll have another opportunity again. So I'm here to talk about maximizing the power of data for seamless and meaningful brand experience. And there were so many ways that I could have angled this today, but we just don't have the time. So instead, I decided to start at the center of it all, and the reason for retailers being forced to make changes today. And that's us. It's us as the consumer that's actually the driver of change. We as the consumers have connected lifestyles. We are increasingly communicate more. We socialize, we shop, we control our environment by using technology. And with this on-demand lifestyle that we have, we've become impatient. We're curious and we're demanding. And where this connectedness has shaped our expectations. We really want to be connected seamlessly. We want to have information timely and with ease. And we want these services to make our lives easier in the end of the day. And this is where the opportunity lies for you as the retailer. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to share some key actionable insights on making a brand's responsibility clear in catering for the needs of that consumer. And in order to take consumer centricity seriously, you will need to understand exactly really what it truly means to be committed as a business to put your consumer first. You want to invest in your customers' data to understand your consumer and their behavior, and in order to build meaningful relationships with them. So how do we build brand love? We will identify a few opportunities to connect with your audience in a meaningful way, making sure, you offer cohesive and consistent experiences across the user's journey, regardless of whether they're online or you find them in store. So starting off, question to you. Does your business put the customer's needs first? And you might think to yourself, yes, we do. And actually, you know what? You might even add that it's easy. It's easy to put the customer at the center of everything that my business does. But really, is it that simple? I don't think so. And for the sake of bringing us all on the same page, this is where you'll use your Slido. I'd like you to tell me, what does customer centricity mean to you? And this is where you interact. Just put it down there. I want to see a few answers. Customer's the boss. Defo. Focus on their needs. Love it. Hello, love it. Putting the customer's needs first. So whatever, and I mean, there are many ways we could angle this, right? You could look at it from various angles. But as long as the customer's needs are at the center of the organization, That's what's important. Now, that also sounds all too easy. Let's quickly move on. There's another question for you. By asking certain obvious questions, right, we get to understand the commitment, the real commitment in putting your customer first. So let's be honest, even if it's just for the fun. Do you understand your customer's behavior in a connected environment? Well done, 67%, 50%. Oh yeah, there's some few people that are telling the truth. Good. Listen, we're not all on the same on the same path, but we're not all at the same point. One other one. Are you connecting with them on their preferred channels? The challenge is actually, do you know what their preferred channels are? Yes. So you're obviously asking them. No. Good. 76%. We've got a strong audience here today. Guys, a rhetorical one. Do you share content that matters to them at the time where they actually want to be informed? Or do you bombard them with information? Because today we get bombarded with information from various channels, and we don't want to be bothered with communication that is a one-way street to us about the brand's beautiful self. In the customer's eyes, they want to be seen as a person and find what they need as easy as possible. So the true question is, are you building a lasting relationship? So taking customer centricity seriously for one reason alone, and the question again, I love asking questions as you can hear because it's introspective, is how often have you stuck with a brand that fails to spark joy? And in the pandemic, it's tested more than just one effort of patience, right? It's tested our allegiances as well. And you'll see studies have actually been showing that loyalty is at an all-time low currently. And that's for many reasons. The retailers or the retailers and the brands really suffered during COVID with their supply chain issues. Many retailers were not online, so you might have not been able to shop at your favorite store during the hard lockdown. And there's data that's actually showing, I know McKinsey has published data that's showing that consumers are likely to keep to their behaviors that they've adopted in lockdown, such as online shopping and fewer mall visits. Now, does this mean bricks and mortar is dead? Definitely not, by all means. But I think bricks and mortar retailers will have to make their in-store experience extraordinary and keep it compelling enough to visit. Or motivate us just to get up from the couch, because I don't know about you guys, but passivity adopted during lockdown is a big yes on my side. So it's just thinking out loud, which shop did get me off the couch. I think when Egg opened up, so I don't know if you know of the store Egg in Cavendish, really interesting experience. It's a great example of a store that gave me a reason to visit them and made sure that I partake in the full experience that they've got to offer. For you as a brand, obviously competition is on the increase and financial means are decreasing for the consumers. So it becomes more and more costly to win new customers and than to keep them. So lifetime value is a key motivating factor. And the ultimate reward for customer centricity is loyalty and retention. So how do you become more customer centric? Well, I'd say start approaching it as a mission instead of just a concept. You will need to change the organization's mindset and the culture to become more customer focused as opposed to be product focused, which many of our retailers still are. And that starts with questions, how does this particular business decision actually benefit my customer? An example will be this new product line that you're thinking of introducing. How would that benefit my customer? And you'll have to have executive management champion and be the strategic driver of these changes needed to break down our operational silos, because it is still very much structured around our products and how those business units offer the products. You're going to need to allow more flexibility where customers can use any channel at their choice at any point in the journey to reach out and connect with their brand, their favorite brand, your brand. And the most important benefit actually of collapsing our departmental silos would mean that it creates a new opportunity for you to build new data structures, because you must remember different teams have different goals and they're not necessarily aligned. So as connected consumers, empowered to get what we want, when we want, how we want it, we will require more than just one channel to interact. And this makes it hard for a brand, right? Because now they'll have to tie together these hundreds of thousands of different little interactions to create one single profile of my journey to give communication that's valuable to me at any given point in time. And in order to get this journey all mapped out, the only way you're going to be able to do that is to actually invest in collecting and analyzing and activating that data in one central point. And that sounds much easier than done, by all means. And I understand the complexity that we are dealing with and brands are dealing with today. The current marketing and retail landscape has changed significantly, and it's continued to do so. This is all driven by the consumer, of course, their awareness and their concern about identity theft, and then the regulations and the legislations that just jumped on that and made sure that, that's all protected. We're dealing with the tech companies that's been following suit, where they're removing third-party cookies or they completely block the capability of tracking unless you've opted in. We've touched on the pandemic that's thrown many retailers into having to start off with e-commerce that were not there before, little preparation. And then you're struggling with the siloed organizations, as I said, which unfortunately means that there's fragmented data sets and it's deduplicated and you don't really know what you're looking at because there's no unification. This means that it's making it much harder for retail brands to reach their current and their potential customers using these traditional tactics that we've been using. And we're going to have to find alternative ways. So what does that mean? Well, with so many elements to consider, I've summarized it in high level, 3 different areas. It's collecting your data. You need to analyze and segment that data, and you need to be able to activate on that data. And the only way you're going to be doing that in order to grow a baseline understanding of your customer is to combine your online and offline data in one place. And if it's stored in multiple locations, which is likely to be, then you'll have to invest in technology or an ecosystem that allows you for that seamless integration of the purpose of data aggregation, segmentation, and activation. And you know what? You don't need an abundance of data. You should rather focus on the most appropriate data to build meaningful relationships. And how do you do that? Well, that's actually not third-party data, and it's not demographic data. It's behavioral data. And behavioral data is becoming the new gold, where retailers should be looking at contextual clues about their customers' interactions. And their aim should be to collect that first-party data responsibly, and for the sake of grouping those customers in cohorts or then segments based on their behavior that's relevant to your business. And there are different types of gold data sets, right? And I'll quickly run through them as first party, zero party, and second party. But essentially it's data that's unique to your business, or it's data that you've incentivized either distributors or merchants to share with you, or it's by getting, you're asking your customers to share their opinions or desires or their preferences through surveys or quizzes. Social's a very good channel for that. But you see, not all customers are equal either. And in order to get your business to focus on the most valuable customer segments, you have to segment them, the best from the rest. And a good tip will be to establish clear experience goals aligned with business objectives, right? So what you can't measure, you cannot manage. And a few KPIs are mentioned here, you can clearly see that will keep your efforts on track. So retention rate's a big one, propensity to turn, what's the wallet share, and lifetime value. But you must also capture the measures that, in terms of your customers' behavior and the sentiment. So you've got 3 more to look at there. This is a case study that's a working example of what results you can achieve when investing in the right offline data segments when activating your media strategies. This is an Australian e-com retailer that they've embarked on an audience segmentation piece to define their high, medium, and low value audience segments, and they wanted to maximize their ROI. So what they did was they used the higher valued segments and they actually bid more aggressively. And they delivered a good increase of 64% in ROI by using the lifetime segments through a bid algorithm. So activating on that first party data strategy that I was talking about, how are you going to get your users to part with that data willingly? If your business just passively collects information, you stand a chance where consumers might feel, well, you're spying on them. How did you know that? Why are you asking me this? And in actual fact, as a brand, your aim is for them to feel that you understand them and you care about what they like, right? So the best advice that I could give you is to create a fair and transparent value exchange between the brand and the consumer. Offer something of value in exchange for the company to learn about the audiences and create genuinely useful interactions with your customers that will build trust and loyalty. For instance, explaining to a customer why in this particular situation it's been personalized. For example, and I've noticed, who does this well is Netflix. They go, you are shown this item because you've watched X. And that is, in fact, where the first-party data is linked with data from other sources to improve the customer's insight. It will also enhance the customer's experience and provide a beautiful, consistent, and persistent, cohesive experience for the client. As customers move seamlessly between the different touch points to make a purchase, you serve relevant communication across the various online and offline channels that is familiar with them. And that is when you build trust. So examples, and I actually think we underutilize media, social media, to promote increased interactions completely. I think this is a beautiful opportunity to interact at offline events for competitions, polls, or share photographs. It's get them to be included in those conversations and drive in-store traffic. I've already touched on an example where I said, where you can build an in-depth customer profile by actually bidding more aggressively for your high valued. But this particular one that I'm sharing on the screen currently is, it's a great example of where we assisted a business school with improving their student enrollment rates and therefore the overall ROI. We integrated Salesforce and Google Ads to allow for the offline data that usually happens in call centers to complete that customer's journey. So in order to complete that customer journey, in order to know which segments to bid for, we managed to lower the cost of acquisition by a good 60%. That's some serious savings. And then let's not forget, right? There's personalized communication strategy. That's just as important. And with one case study, I've just quickly highlighted for a European e-tailer that we did with the name Zalando. We helped them by segmenting their audiences on where they were in the user journey. And then we overlaid that with their affinity and product preferences. With that, we built dynamic creative and video to ensure communication strategy that actually provided a relevant and seamless experience for where they were at that point in time, what was of interest to them. So I know this is a mouthful, and I understand that it might be completely overwhelming and there's a lot to do. But I would start off by just one step at a time. Take customer centricity seriously, invest in your first-party data, aggregate, and then you segment those audiences based on their behavior and that is valuable to your business. And then activate that smartly with a consistency and a transparency in your communication. And that's it from me. So thank you.
Thank you, Ansa. Wow, sure. So much beautiful information there. I really like the fact that you've got these case studies in there to help us realize that this is not just talk. It's all about the action and the result that can bring. Beautiful insights. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
We're very much looking forward to you engage us in the Q&A. So speaking of, there's a little Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. If you've just joined us, welcome to Insight Series, episode 28, focusing on the integration of online and offline digital. So please do go and pop any questions to answer down below, and we'll get those into our Q&A in just a bit. And a reminder, they've got a competition running for a seat at the Bookmark Awards coming up very soon. I think it's about a week's time, if I'm not mistaken. I saw that in the chat. So if you guys want to win a ticket, you go over to Twitter, share your insights using the hashtag IAB Insights, and also don't forget to tag IAB_SA on Twitter, and we'll see if you're in the running to win. Right, from our keynote speaker to our first group of case studies. I'm very excited for this pair to join us this morning. Franscoe Bouwer, Marketing Manager for Lite, and Nick Kostouros, Integrated Creative Director at Promise Johannesburg. They're going to be speaking about Cold Tracker, the world's first temperature-based media trading platform. Thought I'd give you some insights into both of them first, that you understand the men behind the conversation. Franscoe is a highly motivated, driven, and a man who's in love with beer. Franscoe's passion is about growing brands in Africa. He has a working and living experience in the last frontier of CPG growth in Nigeria, as well as 11 other African markets. He spent the last 4 years setting up premium brands for future growth, as well as delivering award-winning work, like the very first ever Cannes Lions for Tanzania. He's currently leading the communications positioning of South Africa's biggest premium brand, Lite, who we'll be speaking about today, and Nick Kostouros, with over 12 years of brand problem-solving experience within multiple sectors, seeing him launch a number of innovative market-first products to emotive brand building campaigns. He's a multidisciplinary who doesn't feel safe when he feels safe. I love that. And often finding himself testing the possibilities of bringing together one brand story through multiple linked unexpected mediums. His aspirations to make the world a more human place through the brands he works on has pushed him to receive over 60 local and international awards in his career, from Loeries to Cannes. In 2021, Nick was ranked the #1 creative director in South Africa by the One Show Awards in New York, and rated within the top 100 global creative directors by The Drum. Gentlemen, so lovely to have you. How are we doing today? Nick, you're in a t-shirt. Are you crazy? Where are you?
It's very warm where I am. Usually it's really cold. I'm in the UK, in London, and we have some sweltering heat. When people in the UK tell you that it's hot at 28 degrees, they aren't lying. I think over the fence, we also kind of always have a bit of a giggle because we get up to like 35 in South Africa, but it's a very different kind of heat. So I'm in a t-shirt, and I hope you guys are keeping warm.
Yeah, I was about to say, the only person on this room tonight who does want an ice cold beer right now. The rest of us are wondering whether this is the right case study to focus on. Franscoe, good to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Sorry that you're freezing back in South Africa. I hope that you guys have a fantastic session. The stage is yours, gents.
Yeah, thank you so much. And good morning to everybody. I'm super excited to share this amazing piece of work in partnership with our digital agency, Promise. And the theme for today is really around sticking to your guns and sharing with you guys how we use innovation, not only to unlock meaning with our consumers, but solve a genuine consumer problem. So firstly, before we get into the problem, I wanted to share a little bit of information about the brand, Lite. So as many of you know, Lite since 2008 has been synonymous with cold, and also have been obsessed with this with cold, even going as far as calling it extra cold. And the reason for this is because we have this amazing reason to believe in our little snow castle on a packaging, which is a firmer indicator when a beer is the perfect drinking temperature. This extra cold positioning has served us tremendously well in South Africa, leading to the categorical growth and really trajecting a territory, making us the biggest premium brand in South Africa as well as the rest of the continent. So knowing that this positioning works so well in South Africa and testing this positioning of cold beer, we know that that's also a universal truth, because nobody doesn't want a cold beer. So by doing this, we traverse the rest of the continent with the exact same positioning. But as we move to 11 other markets, we realize that it's not as easy as it is in South Africa, because different countries give you different challenges. Across the continent, we found that South Africa is extremely unique, and with our mild, even though it's hot here, we still have mild temperatures and low humidity levels, which you wouldn't find in half our markets, which is based on the equator, which brought us to our challenge in one of our biggest markets, Tanzania. So in Tanzania, for those that haven't been there, similar to the UK, it is extremely humid, it's extremely hot all year long, and when it's not hot, it's raining. When you put your washing out, it doesn't dry for 4 days, and it's impossible not to sweat unless you're in an air-conditioned room. because of this tremendous heats and some of Tanzania's past history, they have a very interesting relationship with beer. Firstly, it's extremely hard to keep it cold. The moment that the beer leaves the fridge, it is like a ticking time bomb to get to room temperature. And as a result of that, what we've learned is that customers have kind of just accepted their reality and have decided to start drinking beer at room temperature, which I can personally tell you is a horrible experience. And as a reality, the retailer no longer has incentive to keep their fridges on, and which brought us to the staggering fact that 3 out of 5 retailers in our informal beer sector have decided to start switching their fridges off, making it extremely hard to find cold beer. So when we have an amazing positioning that promises this and looks like this for consumers, the reality was the right-hand side. It was stale, it was boring, and really didn't give our brand anything to stand for, which as a result impacted our meaning and what we stood for. And we didn't only feel this and see this, but our sales numbers replicated this. And in the 2017, we realized that we were 35% lower in sales in average decrease in these outlets due to the fact that we weren't able to deliver in our reason to believe. So in partnership with Promise, and over a long time and a lot of problem solving, a lot of tasting, a lot of probing, we really came and and asked them one simple question and tasked them to come up with a simple solution. And the question was, how do we make cold beer worth the extra spend for our outlets and make extra cold beer available again? And this is where Promise really came up with this amazing solution for us.
Cool, thanks, Franscoe. Great setup. So yeah, guys, I think from a solution point of view, before we get into it, I think creatively we always need to kind of respect the fact that you never intentionally go into any kind of ideation forcefully trying to think of an innovation or use technology. For us, what was always important was to always stay honest as to whether or not we were going to be solving the problem. And it really started to shift the way we kind of looked at things, and as we started to get into the innovation piece, a big learning for us, which Franscoe will touch on a lot a little bit later with our learnings, is that, innovation is there to fill the gaps, not create them. And I think for us, kind of always thinking about it in that sense, allowed us to kind of stay true to a very simple idea. But I think before we get into that, what's really kind of special for us is, working with AB InBev and also specifically the Lite team over many, many years, we've had the luxury of actually traveling with the brand teams into many of the other African markets, which I think is hugely beneficial for us. I think we as agencies might not have all the insights that the businesses have, and we might pick up on things that are interesting to us from a creative result point of view. So we went into quite a few of these markets, Tanzania being one of them, and we found some really, really kind of interesting insights. And the more we kind of went through these, kind of visited these in-trade environments and these outlets, the more we realized, even though there is a bit of a lack of resource from a business point of view, these business owners are incredibly resourceful and they work exceptionally hard at differentiating themselves from their competitors. So you'll often find there are small nucleuses of these in-trade environments that you often find in these markets, where you would have a strip of 4 or 5 bars that kind of exist on one strip. And they start to tend to differentiate themselves with very, very simple things like, this place has really incredible furniture and it's super comfortable. The one down the road has a great sound system. And that was where we kind of got inspired about how the businesses really kind of drive, the business owners really kind of drive the business souls. And to kind of land on an insight for us, which was really, really simple, was to say, well, if they are so business savvy, then how can we change the perception and the value of what the extra spend on electricity would be in these markets and make that extra spend on electricity seem as a business investment into that business, which essentially led us to our idea and our platform of Lite Cold Tracker, which for us, we call the world's first temperature-based media trading platform, which I'll share with you now in a moment. So essentially what Cold Tracker is, in its simplest form, is essentially trading cold fridge space in outlets for free advertising space out in the consumer world. So if you keep your fridge on, you get free advertising, which really helped us because with the loss of a meaning and impact on Unlock Extra Cold Refreshments, our kind of out-of-home and advertising spend wasn't really being really impactful anyway. So it really kind of helped us kind of step into that. But I guess the big question is how we did it today. We're here to speak about innovation and how this can often mobilize ideas and thinking. And before I get into it, I just have to put a disclaimer down. I am by no means a tech expert. I never have been. I come from a traditional background of radio ads and TV ads. And have been fortunate enough to really get involved in a lot of the below the line work. So if there are some massive tech enthusiasts on the call and I'm explaining this tech incorrectly, please spare me. And for those of you who are like me and really are inspired by ideas and look to discover things that can make them work, then there's hope for us yet. So essentially what Cold Tracker is a very, very simple technology. It's essentially a 3G device, quite small. It was about 8 centimeters in height. The same kind of technology that we use our phones to kind of communicate with, right? It just passes data through the air from one point to another. So we had this device, and essentially what we did was we took these 3G devices and we fitted 212 existing warm outlet fridges with these cards. We are fortunate enough with AB InBev that there's a very strong relationship that exists on the ground when it comes to the sales force and the outlet owners. So there was very simple conversations that could have been had to buy into this incentive. And by fitting these 3D devices into the specific warm outlet fridges, the 212 outlet fridges, there were more, but not everyone bought into it, almost creates quite a hyper-targeted response for us, which was really, really exciting versus an almost kind of spray and pray, almost B2C kind of campaign. We kind of led a little bit more into the B2B conversation. And essentially what this device allowed us to do was to track the data from these fridges onto a existing kind of platform where we could essentially be able to see who the outlet is, outlet name, the outlet street address, how cold that fridge is specifically, which would obviously impact how cold the beer is, even down to the point where how many seconds ago that fridge door was actually opened, which was really, really great for us from a data point of view. All of this was powered by kind of Google Maps. It was kind of not consumer facing. And essentially, this is an existing technology that is really just used in a new way. We partnered with a very, very smart group of people who have an existing technology that a lot of QSR businesses actually use. They use it to often kind of track their soda fountains, and even in the beer world, track their draft taps to see whether or not there are efficiencies in terms of how that's being poured and whether the mechanism is working correctly. So we took this existing kind of platform and this existing technology and made it work for us in our kind of brand narrative, which is why we essentially call it, the world's first temperature-based media trading platform. But what this platform allowed us to do was to link very simply our fridges that now we needed to give something back to, considering we asked them to outlet owners to buy into this incentive. The data simply gets pulled from our 3G technology onto this platform. And it gives us a very unique kind of data set for us, which is absolutely everything that we needed. And what this platform essentially allowed us to do was to distribute advertising space very specifically to certain regions or areas within Tanzania. So it would create leaderboards of the coldest fridges in an area within a geo-fenced area, and create just a list of the coldest beer that you could essentially find in that area, which was really fun, because what that starts to do is create an almost small competitiveness that we like to play on between the different outlets, getting them to turn their fridges back on, as well as the fact is with this out of home, with these executions, not only were they getting, I guess, kind of free advertising and getting their name out there as these small outlets, but we were also telling our consumers where they could find cold beer again. In Tanzania, it isn't very easy to travel from one side of the country or one side of the country to the next, or one side of the town to the next. A lot of people travel by foot or bicycle or motorbike. And I think if any of you have been there, you know that you want to avoid Tanzanian traffic as much as possible. So it really served as a double-edged sword there, where we kind of pulled people in to benefit the outlets, but obviously getting people to kind of find their cold beer, which essentially, as we said, is trading cold fridge space in exchange for free ad space. And essentially, it was a very, very simple execution where we would have these digital billboards that were linked to a specific URL that in real time actually showcased the temperature of those specific fridges in those specific regions. So each region in Tanzania would have geolocated advertising space that we would obviously buy from a media point of view. And they would obviously then fight for the coldest fridge space, which worked really, really well for us. And essentially what it did, right, was create very kind of hyper-targeted mini ad campaigns for these outlets who now became our partners, whether it was through digital out of home, weekly press, not as responsive, but was a really nice kind of support there, and as well as using our own kind of platforms from a social media point of view, creating a really nice little nucleus within these specific regions and these areas of the coldest beer in your area, benefiting not just our consumers who are looking for cold beer, but obviously convincing the beer outlets to kind of turn their fridges back on in a very, very, very simple way. So it does sound very kind of complicated and techy, which it really is. But I think what's really important for us is just to keep things quite simple. As I said before we started, innovation and tech should be a gap filler and shouldn't create the gaps. So if you have to stand back and look at the mechanic, it was a very simple fit, track, and reward mechanic with our outlets. And just some results before Franscoe takes us through some really interesting learnings that we both kind of shared on this journey. Was really, really impactful for us. And I think what it did was it also reassured us that people do love cold beer, especially in hot regions. Over the period of the campaign, it saw a 26% increase in total Cask Lite beer volume sales. And what was really, really inspiring was that our competitors also grew, right? Which was really great, because what we started to see is that we were doing more of a category job, but because we were positioned as extra cold and it further imbued meaning into our Unlock Extra Cold proposition, that Cask Lite still grew 19% more than a lot of other competitors. So sometimes even doing a category job can help where you're going, which essentially got our market share up from 6.0 to 8.8 market share growth. But what I'll do is hand over to Franscoe, and then he can talk us through some really, really interesting learnings that we take away from this.
Thanks, Nick. And what we learn and how do we use it in the future is absolutely critical to how we expand. So the first rule learning that we all as partners agreed on is, how often do we get not only enticed but excited around technology, and then tell ourselves we should do this, and then in hindsight we try and fix the problem or force fit the problem into the technology, and that is never the solution. It needs to be problem first. It needs to be human centric and really rooted in human purpose. So how complicated and how exciting technology is not what will make a difference. How exciting you get your consumers to be about the solution that the technology provides is what's really important to us. And like Nick likes to say, if you build it, they will come. The next learning is around insights. And insights is probably the hardest thing to get right as a marketer. We often mistake them for analytics or data sets, but how we like to look at insights are human truths. The thing that you keep inside and think to yourself and not think out loud. It's often extremely rudimentary, super simple, but getting there is extremely hard. But once you have an extremely simple, tangible insight that your brand can ideally solve and credibly solve, you will get tremendous results. And this is for us was a testament of this example. Understanding very simply that consumers want cold beer, buy a warm beer as a grudge purchase, and given that Cask Lite's reason to believe is rooted in extra cold, would really give us larger returns than other brands. And that's critical. And I think the biggest thing for learning for us is insights is everything. Next up is innovation makes things easier, not harder. So as Nick explained it, this technology wasn't crazy complicated. It wasn't an Apple MacBook, wasn't a Android device. It was a rudimentary piece of fridge device that did 3 things. But by keeping it simple and human friendly, really transcended barriers. And a big learning for Africa is that these are really, and including South Africa, and often in the informal market, it's hard and rugged. So the more complicated your technology is, the higher the likelihood of it is to fail. So the beauty about simplicity is that it constantly works and it's able to believe and doesn't become a niche or fad. And finally, it's stick to your guns. I like to say that when you look after a big brand, it's your responsibility to solve big problems and really make a difference in consumers' lives. So even if your solution is complementing other competitors as well, as long as it's at the end of the day, your consumer and your customers winning, you as a brand will always benefit in the long run. And also, it's that first move advantage, right? You'll always be remembered as the one that shaped the industry. And when the chips are down, that's when you need to double down what your brand stands for and what you want most. And getting here might look beautiful and energizing and exciting, but it wasn't an easy journey getting here. It was extremely complicated, but definitely tremendously rewarding. So to close out, I'd like to share the case study with you guys, and then we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Breaking news, and NERSA has allowed Eskom to hike electricity tariffs.
What a fantastic case study, and a really, really exciting insights from the team. Thank you very much. I see so many beautiful messages in the chat celebrating the work that we have here today. Just a quick shout out to you. Thank you so much, Candy, for saying that this is amazing stuff. What an amazing session. We still got one more speaker to go and then our Q&A. And then Tabani also saying this is such great innovation using data, technology, marketing to solve real business problems. Looking forward to see the results it delivered as we shared later on. And then Karen saying brilliant idea, Castle Lite. Thank you very much. As well as Vedette also saying brilliant work. So if you have any questions for the team, I see there are already 3 of you who have asked questions in our chat. Please do continue to share these campaigns and your questions that you have for our guests. We'll get to the panel and the Q&A as soon as possible. And last but not least on our agenda for today is our final speaker. I'm so excited to have David Wingfield here with us today, the Managing Executive for Brand and Marketing at Absa. Today, speaking about the campaign called This Is Us. David began his career in brand management in 1992 with SmithKline Beecham on brands like Acquisto, Lucozade, and MedLemon. In 1996,
Danilo.
Yes.
Okay, I'm very conscious of time, and my resume is not important.
Great, then I love it.
Time, and I just want to, we don't have time, so don't worry about my resume. It's safe to say I'm at Absa. I run brand and marketing there, and I've been doing it for way too long. So let me just kick off, everybody. And I just really thanks to the IAB for this opportunity. Paula pinged me, I think it was earlier this week or late last week, and said, "Will you come share this story with us?" What I do want to say is right up front, what I want to talk to you about is not an ABSA campaign at all. It's rather something that we started just because a few of us were really disturbed, as all South Africans were, what was happening last week. So we started something, and it's just kind of got a life of its own. And I'm getting on as many platforms as possible, particularly talking to marketing people to ask them for help, assistance, their time, money, media, etc. So I don't have I'm not going to. I don't have a presentation because I'm not going to bore you with it. I just want to talk you through where this thing came from. We last week, in conversation with Grid, we kind of had a really stark look at what was going on around us, and we put together a piece of content with the hashtag "This is not us." Because it was just really disturbing what was going on out there. And if we do have time, I'll ask Danilo to play the clip that we did put together last week. And you would have seen it on television, you would have seen it in social media, I hope, and it's hashtagged "This is not us." Where at the time we put that piece of content out, we had the inverse of it, which was a hashtag "This is us," to really talk to the kind of juxtaposition between what was going on versus actually what is it about this country that we do need to do going forward. So "This is not us" was about stamping out lawlessness, opportunism, vigilantism, racism, and just the lack of understanding as to how we got there, and replace it with hashtag "This is us," which is about building social cohesion, positive action, kindness, and understanding, and enabling the country to move forward. You know, we had lots of words that we used about rebuilding, until somebody pointed out to me, he said, well, rebuild's a very interesting perspective, because it comes from a place of privilege. Because if you've had nothing, what are we rebuilding? Perhaps we should be talking about building, which is quite a sort of a good shot between the eyes, and it kind of wakes you up to the reality of what we are facing. Anyway, what we did is we set about putting some content together, which highlighted, as I said, "This is not us," as well as trying to then morph this into something which is about hashtag "This is us," and really trying to create an open source platform where we could share stories of people getting out there and acting, not just in cleaning up, but what does the longer term look like. Subsequently, what's actually happened is that we have Bouwer, the Business Unity South Africa, approached us. They are now on board. We are in fact presenting to the full Bouwer, BLSA, some of the church groups this afternoon. So we're kind of doing all of this stuff in parallel. So really the idea here was we wanted to get from "This is not us" to "This is us," which is trying to build a platform where we could leverage positive stories, inject spikes of inspiration, talk about cleaning up and acts of kindness. That was kind of where we are now and where we started. We want to move that onto a platform of understanding, to helping people, and where there are stories circulating, where there is content circulating about why did this happen? How did we get here? And then from there, moving this into a drive to action, build off our platform of understanding, say, what are we going to do next? It's not just about building stuff. It's not just about cleaning up, but we actually got to do something. Communities have to reach out to each other and understand why there were people in a singular community looting versus other people protecting property. You know, actually, does it matter anymore who looted what? Frankly, as South Africa, we got to reach out to each other and work out, you know, why did we get here? What are we now going to do about it? And then from there, reforge our identity, reintroduce ourselves to each other and the world. So that's kind of our very loose plan at this stage. And we do have a site which we popped up last week. It is called This Is Us. It's under the URL thisisus.africa. You can go check it out. We, over the past week, literally, we've got over, you know, I think we're now closer to 10 million impressions in social media. We've got 6 million video views. We fortunately, and a whole list of really generous media owners, from all the digital shops to Google to Facebook, really gave us a whole lot of help with that. We've got over 4 million rand in media from broadcasters, and that is still growing. So we're busy using that as much as possible, relying on kind of free stuff. We're up to I think 7,000 visits now on the website, in over 50 countries, interestingly enough. So all of that is happening. There have been quite a few people who've actually picked up the hashtag "This is up," "This is us," and you'll find it out there. And really what we want, our appeal to the marketing community in particular, is wherever you can help, in terms of if you've got inventory, if you'd like to incorporate This Is Us into your own marketing campaigns and things you're actually doing that really tell a story of things that are making a difference in this country, then to try and get it under one single hashtag. We're not trying to make everybody drop, there's Move 1 Million, there's I'm Staying, there's 100 hashtags out there. This is really just something that we're hoping can mobilize South Africa and pull it together. At ABSA, we've hashtagged a couple of stuff around. We have Africanacity, so this is what we're doing, hashtag Africanacity, hashtag This Is Us. Standard Bank, it can be. There's community building, there's We're Staying Stronger Together. So there's a lot of stuff out there. We really are just trying to get this together, to start a movement that is an open source thing. Our role in it really is to start curating some of this content in a more managed way, and finding resources to promote stuff, because a lot of people will share really interesting stories, for example, on social media, but they don't go anywhere because they don't necessarily have the impetus. We're just really working almost to kind of, beg, borrow, steal, and bend people's arms to be able to promote these kind of things out there in the market. We have this idea that I think it was Adam Smith once said something to the kind of effect that no society can really be can flourish or be happy if most of the members are poor and have access to nothing. I can't remember the exact quote. So in our journey of where we want to take this thing from understanding where we are to action and reframing the idea of what this country is, we've also got this idea of trying to work on the health of the nation to be able to build the wealth of a nation, and what is that journey going to look like? And that's something we're currently building out. So really, hashtag This Is Us. It is a very simple, open source, non-branded ecosystem that creates a movement which hopefully will galvanize the length and breadth of South African society, and drives a positive, sustained action. That's what we're trying to do. And all I urge everybody is just go check out the website, and please just get hold of me if nothing else, and tell me what you may or may not be able to do. We're really just here to amplify actions. We're not here to create the messages. We're not an ad break. We're not an ad campaign. I guess we're more of a newsroom, and that's essentially what we are trying to do. So hashtag This Is Us. We got a massive audience here. As I say, we're talking to business because I can bend, beg, borrow, steal from business, and they have the resources. But any help is really great. So far, who's in? There's ourselves, MTN, FNB, MASA have been fantastic, TBWA and Grid Worldwide, because obviously we work with them. Then everybody from SABC, DSTV, Sunday Times, BD TV, Daily Mav, ETV, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm giving you all a shout out. Blue Robot, Daily Maverick, again, Infinity, Verizon, Media 24, Ad Colony, Media Mark, Space Media, Turn Left, Relative Media, and Wide Open Media. These are people who've already chipped in. So if you haven't, you're letting the side down. And I really would like you to get on board. I'm going to stop there. So this is really, it's about creating a movement. We're all marketers. Our job is to tell stories, to curate stories, and to get it out there in the market and change perception. That's our job. Can we get on board and do our job for the country and not just for our brands? I'll stop
David,
there.
thank you so much. Yeah, and it's so cool to see the conversations happening on the chat as well too. Everybody's giving you a shout out to say congrats on the great work. It seems really, really impactful. So please do read those and take the insights. It's just gone 12 o'clock. I do want to continue with the panel discussion. So those of you who do need to drop off now, as you have meetings at 12 o'clock, I'm terribly sorry that you'll have to miss the Q&A. But a big thank you to Incubeta for sponsoring this episode, and to our partners Gumtree, Everlytic, and BizCom for being part of bringing insights to life. So all of our panelists, can you end up back on screen, please? Because I think there are a couple of questions in the Q&A that I'd love to pose to you all. So thanks very much, Franscoe, Ansa. Who else are we waiting for? Nick, there he is. All righty. So thanks, guys, for some incredible insights today and how you guys are taking this stuff into real life action. Some of the questions that came through, I'll start with Nicolette's one, and it's for the team working on Castle Lite. Says, did the campaign get impacted by power outages? And linked to that was an anonymous question that in fact came through from somebody asking whether Castle Lite had any issues with the supply chain.
I'll take those questions. So I think most of Africa has a very different relationship with power than we do. So where we have a much more orchestrated and organized longer period power cuts. And from my experience, it happens much more unexpectedly, infrequently in these markets. So it's often just quick outages come back. So they're very well geared for it. So having a generator at the back of your store is a very normal experience. So absolutely, we had power outages. I think one of the great things about our 3G device is that it recorded temperatures every 30 seconds. And a great thing about fridges, if the door stays closed, it kind of contains the temperature. So it wasn't around keeping it cold, even though that was the outage. It was all around creating this internal competitive for media real estate and seeing who could keep whose fridge was or whose beer was the coldest. So, you know, it is a reality dealing with power outages. Luckily, it isn't at such long periods. And given the fact that our machine reads temperatures so frequently, we were able to get it back and up and running. Also, we used digital billboards, so when the power went out, sold it our billboard.
Stunning,
to be honest.
very cool stuff.
The second question was around distribution
Supply chain.
and value. And so AB InBev's backbone is our supply chain. It's always been incredibly reliant. It's really our strength. And given that we are able to deliver to most of our customers once a week directly, it's never been a constraint for us, which is an amazing enabler as a marketer, knowing that our value chain is such a reliable resource and part of our business.
Stunning. Thank you very much, Franscoe. All right, next question was for you, Ansa. It says, thank you for such an insightful presentation. What do you say is the next best step that a business can take to set and cut this journey of data centricity?
Wow. So I think one of the most important steps is to actually get buy-in from executive management. It's forming part of a digital transformation. And I hate using that word because people's eyes just go all blurry. But the reality is that we need executive buy-in towards a customer centricity, which essentially equals data centricity, right? And when you have buy-in, people understand that we're working towards one goal. So it's identifying exactly what is that business goal you're looking at. And then all departments need to work together on that. That would mean you bring data together. So you're going to need technology for it. And then, of course, the innovation piece is so important, to make sure that you speak to unique users because you understand them. So you're going to need not only technology, but you're going to need creative thinking minds to connect with those users.
Stunning. Thank you. Very cool answer. David, a quick one for you that came through. In fact, was on the chat. It should have been on the Q&A, but I'll give a sense to it as well too. Just to get a sense, you touched on quite a lot of collaboration and how important it is for all these businesses to come together to create this integrated approach. How important in your mind is collaboration between brands, agencies, consumers, etc., to bring about this integration of online, offline, and to tell this overarching narrative you've been speaking about? You're on mute. Or is the Joyce?
The most famous saying. Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the I suppose this is more of my marketing opinion, more than what we're trying to do currently. I guess one of the things, we speak a whole lot of BS, I think, in many cases about, purpose-led brands and all these things. It's really easy stuff to say when you're marketers. What's really interesting about it is that if we were all genuinely committed to purpose as brands, we would be clear that actually, as brands and as businesses, if we collaborated and worked together more, our ability to, in fact, to move the world forward, to make it a better place, would probably be exponentially bigger, as opposed to working out how your purpose and things is going to help create distinctiveness for your own brand. I mean, it's a little bit of an oxymoron, this thing. So it's an opinion. I don't know. I'm happy to always debate it with people, but I genuinely think that brands in similar industries, different industries, should collaborate much more in working through solving some of the issues of the world. To be honest, I mean, interesting listening to Franscoe and Nick, Tanzanian example. I actually think brands in some other markets outside of South Africa on this continent are actually better at it. I mean, I think business is much better at collaborating in other markets. I lived in Nairobi for quite a long time, also Lagos. You'd be amazed how people get together. South Africa, we tend to be quite insular, and I don't think we work. It's easy to stick a proudly South Africa bullshit on your ad. Frankly, that doesn't cut it. We just got to be a lot better at working together and not trying to work for ourselves. I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know if that answers the question, but
it does. I think it gives us a really nice insight. And then speaking of that collaboration, you've mentioned now obviously the collaboration between brands, but I'm interested between Franscoe and Nick. I don't know which of you wants to take the question, but we got one in on the Q&A that's just saying that your talk was very inspirational. In terms of partnerships that you guys were speaking about and to solve problems together, considering the year we've had, has the way you solve problems with your partners shifted? And are there any learnings you can share about creating effective partnerships? Because obviously agencies and everybody else always feels like they're competing with each other, which causes the siloed effect. How do you create effective partnerships?
Nick, I'm happy if you want to take it. I know that it's a big driver for ABI too. So
yeah,
I'll just chip in if I need to.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, and I think the power sits in the word partnership, right? I'm not a big, I really hate being called a client. And as an organization, we are trying to push beyond those boundaries, because if we are going to, make a significant change in society, you can't have the relationship. And I think what is just like a lot of other trends have been fast forwarded, and as a result of the pandemic, I think so have we been forced to work very differently as partnerships. So big things that has changed. No longer do you write a 5-page long-winded brief and orchestrate 5 dates to meet to solve a big idea. It is a problem posed on WhatsApp and a bunch of solutions thrown our way. We are democratizing who comes up with solutions because the problem's really big. It shouldn't matter who solves it. It should be like, how do you work together to get there? And I think finally it's around trust. Trusting your partner's gut, trusting your agency's insights, trusting that if I come with an idea from an agency that my client, and it's not always the best idea, or there's something you haven't thought about, it's not about lambasting them or breaking them down. It's around being constructive and building on each other's ideas, because that's how you strengthen them. I often find that 10 bad ideas equal 1 good idea. And I think lastly, also, we need to trust is everything, right? The agency needs to feel comfortable to tell me, Franscoe, you're wrong, or you're doing this for the wrong reasons, or is this what you want, or is this the common goal? And I think becoming partners in a common problem and having the best interest of the brand at heart is really where we need to go, because otherwise we're going to continue to focus on profits and be disengaged with our consumers, and ultimately lose out to people who are better at this than we are.
Yeah, stunning. Seeing lots of nodding heads. Yes, Ansa, do you want something to add to that?
I love how you put it, that we are at an age of partnerships, right? But with partnership comes transparency. And I think that's where we've been lacking on both sides of the industry, whether you're a brand or an agency. It is really to get close to a client's goals, and their goals should be centralized around what their consumers need from them, right? And that is collectively our goal, is to be your partner and whomever other partners you've got in the ecosystem, to service your customers in the end of the day. And whatever we need to do that sufficiently and effectively, that's what we team up to achieve. And I think it's a lovely sentiment.
Stunning. It's a really lovely way to end it. It's actually very simple. It's very, very simple. Focus on the customer and their needs. The businesses themselves should be creating products and services that actually solve those customer problems, and agencies and brands and partners of the brand should be considering how to help solve those problems with them. So on that note, I know you guys are very busy people, winning awards, creating content, changing the planet, David. So I hope that you guys have a fantastic rest of your afternoon. Thank you for giving up so much of your time here today. I'll let you guys go off and prosper. So thank you very, very much for your time, to all of our panelists and to everybody who joined us here today. I quickly want to announce our winner that wins himself a ticket to the Bookmarks Awards. I must get out my phone now because it was sent to me via WhatsApp. So thank you very much. And congratulations to Wonga Letum Khamama, who's from Publicist and Machine, community manager and content creator. You won yourself a ticket to the Bookmark Awards. Congratulations, and thanks for your tweets, sharing your insights. You can continue to find them on the IAB_SA on Twitter. All right, panelists, you can turn your cameras off and head off into your day. The next Insight series is going to be all about digital audio. So a big thank you to our partners, Incubeta, for bringing this episode to life and for sponsoring it, and to our other partners, Gumtree, Everlytic, and Biz Community for making these episodes possible. Next time, we're going to be speaking about digital audio, as mentioned, on the 26th of August, and we'll see you there. It's going to be another jam-packed 60 minutes of insights, and so I hope you can join it from wherever you may be. We have a great week ahead, even in the midst of everything that is going on. Stay curious, be generous, and we'll be right here by your side. Ciao for now, everybody.